don't really recognize parts of myself. And it's sort of frustrating in some sense because I think, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I don't have the same ambition and I don't care about the same things. And what does that mean for my life? You know, like what's going to happen here? And it is quite scary in the sense of everything that has motivated you before, motivated me, isn't there in the same way. I think I've been kind of calling it like I'm following the threads. You know, it's almost like when I was a teenager, I was trying to work out who I was and what I cared about. Actually, as I'm saying this to you right now, and based on what we just discussed with the years of me choosing a career that was reactive to trauma, I almost feel like for the first time in my life, I'm making choices that aren't reactive choices. They're very intentional.
Host Sam Baker interviews Amanda de Cadenet, a multi-talented woman known for her early success as a TV presenter and later as a photographer and entrepreneur. They start by discussing how the British press shamed her in her teens. Having been in the public eye since the age of 16 has been a lifelong challenge for her. At 50, she reflects on taking control of her story, dealing with the difficulties of aging as a woman, losing her dad, and finding new love in a camper van. Inspired by this video, you would find new and expressive ways to use the words you already know, to explore your thoughts. Reading practice for speaking. Read silently or aloud, as if you were telling it to someone else. Audio will be without repetition, with a brief pause between each chunk or sentence. Sam Baker continues the interview with Amanda de Cadenet. Amanda explains how taking her own photos helped her understand herself better. She shares how her work in supporting women's voices came from her own experiences, and describes how her motivations changed as she healed from past traumas. She realized that she was no longer just reacting to her past and needed to find a new reason to do the work she does.
Taking photos was by wanting to document myself, how I felt I was. And that was a huge impetus for me because I couldn't work out who I was while I had an image projected onto me all the time. And I really got a real sense of who I was in reality by taking my own photos of myself. Reclaiming that narrative has been a sort of ongoing process.
And that was a huge impetus for me. That was a huge motivation for me. That was a big push for me. Because I needed to. I couldn't work out who I was. while I had an image projected onto me all the time. And I really got a real sense of who I was in reality. By taking my own photos of myself.
Sense of who I was in reality by taking my own photos of myself. Reclaiming that narrative has been a sort of ongoing process. I think it was very reactionary for a long time. You know, my advocating for people to have a voice and my advocating for women to be heard and to be listened to and to be paid attention to and to not just be asked about their husbands or sexualized. I think that was largely in reaction to my own experiences. And then there hit a point in my life where
Reclaiming that narrative has been a sort of ongoing process. I've been constantly working on retelling my own story. Reshaping the story about myself has been an ongoing process. Taking back control of my story has been a continuous journey. I think it was very reactionary for a long time. I overreacted for a long time. It was very defensive for a long time. It was very focused on fighting back for a long time. My advocating for people to have a voice. My fighting for people to have a voice. My speaking out for people to have a voice. My supporting people to have a voice. My promoting people to have a voice. And my advocating for women to be heard. And to be listened to. And to be paid attention to. And to not just be asked about their husbands or sexualized. I think that was largely in reaction to my own experiences.
I think that was largely in reaction to my own experiences. And then there hit a point in my life where I no longer had that wound to react to in the same way. And so I had to find a different impetus for doing what I do, because it wasn't reactionary anymore. It was like, oh, what do I really care about when I'm not using...
And then, that hit a point in my life where I no longer had that wound to react to in the same way. And so I had to find a different impetus for doing what I do. Because it wasn't reactionary anymore.
Doing what I do, because it wasn't reactionary anymore. It was like, oh, what do I really care about when I'm not reacting to trauma, if you will? Like, then what? And you sort of have to rethink why you're doing what you're doing, because in many ways, I think a lot of us choose careers. And I know from interviewing people, and I'm sure you know, when you start to ask,
it was like, oh, what do I really care about? When I'm not using when I'm not reacting to trauma. If you will. Like, then what? And you sort of have to rethink why you're doing what you're doing. Because in many ways, I think a lot of us choose careers.
In many ways, I think a lot of us choose careers. And I know from interviewing people, and I'm sure you know, when you start to ask people, you know, I interviewed a woman the other day, Dr. Ramani, who's a phenomenal expert on narcissism. And I was like, why did you choose this career? What is your experience with narcissism that made you want to do this? A lot of us choose career paths because of our own experiences, and we're trying to repair that early experience through what we're doing as adults. And that was definitely me for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, you know, looking back at your career since your...
And I know from interviewing people, and I'm sure you know, when you start to ask people, you know, I interviewed a woman the other day Dr. Ramani, who's a phenomenal expert on narcissism. She's an amazing expert on narcissism. She's an outstanding expert on narcissism. She's a top expert on narcissism. And I was like, why did you choose this career? What is your experience with narcissism? That made you want to do this? A lot of us choose career paths because of our own experiences. And we're trying to repair that early experience through what we're doing as adults. And that was definitely me for a long time.
Let's review the vocabulary we've learned from our past lessons. I picked out some simple sentences to help you develop a natural feel for English.
Looks like Kevin is waiting till the last minute to study for his exam again. Kevin is putting off studying for his exam until the very last moment again. Kevin is procrastinating on his exam studying again. Kevin is leaving his studying until the very end for his exam again. Justin's been prepared for a week.
That noise is so distracting. You want to read, dude?
Nah, been there, done that. I've already done that. I have already experienced that. I've been through that before.
Suit yourself. Go ahead and do what you want. Do whatever you want. Do as you please. It's up to you. I'm just going to close this computer very slowly. And replace it with this side table. This is going to be so good. Let's weigh the table down with some stuff. That should do it.
Highlighting other articles and videos that use keywords from this content. They are in simple English. Check them out to learn more. Wait the last minutes. Don't wait until the last minute. Procrastinate. I have been procrastinating on working on this thing from Monday morning. But it has only taken me 2 hours to finish it today. How to stop procrastinating on getting your finances in order. I've always been a bit of a procrastinator. I was that kid in college, staying up late the night before a big paper was due. I was no different when it came to money. I spend years procrastinating on getting my finances in order. I didn't budget. I didn't have financial goals. And I didn't make anything more. Than the minimum monthly payments on all of my debts. I just paid the minimum on all my debts. I only made the minimum monthly payments on all of my debts. I only paid the smallest amount required each month for all my debts. When I finally stopped making excuses. And started taking action. My situation changed dramatically. Not only did I finally take the time to learn, what I didn't already know about money, but I saw my savings grow and my debt shrink. In this post, I'm sharing 7 tips to help to stop procrastinating on your finances. And finally start making money moves. Being prepared for. One woman cried. As she told how her father had died. But then, just a few days later, her sister also died. She said, she suffered guilt over the way they had died. Another woman said she had lost everything. While others described suffering anxiety. UK may not have been prepared for pandemic. The UK may not have been very well prepared at all. To deal with the coronavirus pandemic, the official inquiry's lead lawyer said. Been there, done that.
Have you ever set a big goal, decided on your strategy, and then somewhere along the path, you self-sabotaged your own success? Raising my hand, been there, done that, got the t-shirt. In this video, I'm going to share why we do this. And once you identify the reason why, I'll give a few ideas on how to stop this cycle, stop this pattern from happening again.
Suit yourself.
Lithium-ion or some other technique, when you put those batteries in here, you charge them elsewhere, put the batteries in here, you need to change this. That's not a very common thing that people do. You can change the contrast on the screen if you're working a lot outside, if it's a gray day, if it's a very bright day. I'm from Arizona. We have a lot of issues with bright sunlight and LCD displays. You can change the contrast to suit yourself. The backlight.
Not so much today, apparently.
Yeah.
The dot will come from underneath with the nylon bush. Sit in place here. Okay, now the top and the bottom arm have been fixed in, we'll check the mechanism. As you can see, it glides beautifully. All we need to do now is put the baskets in. The baskets can be set at any height using these points, so you can use it to suit yourself. So now we have our pantry pull-out basket system set up. As you can see, it's quite a simple, easy action. It gives you all that storage option and you can get to everything. Once you hang these in where you want them, you close the door, the job's done.
That should do it.
After a while of pressing on it, and it's pretty much ready to go now. We can put that straight on there because these ones have been done. Okay, so what I've done is I've put some impasto medium with some fluorescent green just to give it a bit more colour because it can never do with enough colour. So I mix that in. So this is the tricky bit. What I do is make a dome with it. Okay, that should do it. So now,
the fun part.
The fun part, and you can move it around. So pop it straight onto the canvas, like that. And then I just like to push on it.
Oh, and there it goes.
And it just sinks it right in
Giant bug eyes. That's great.
So I just do the other one.
Bug eyes. Boof.
And that's the beginning of the eyes, because then I really like to get in there with lots of colour and mix it up. So now I'm just going to dribble this green through. So I'm just going to put my signature, which I always do in resin. In this case, I put...
Alright.
So in that time, we'll just do a little more highlighting down in here.
Sure.
Well, the yellow's fairly dry now. I will be scratching a little bit out of it.
Mm-hmm.
but not very much, because a true flame's always a bit white at the top.
Yeah.
It's a little around the base.
Okay.
That should do it.
That's amazing. Absolutely wonderful. All right, another amazing day with a very talented lady. Carolyn, thank you so much for having us in your studio.
No worries, Graham.
It's great to be down here in Victoria. A little cold, of course. Freezing, in fact.
We try hard.
But it's been tremendous, and as you can see, from start to finish, obviously using the scratchboard techniques, a little bit of colour in there, but as you've seen through the process of us screening up some of Carolyn's work, it's really amazing what you can do, almost, photographic technique. I'd always like to thank our sponsors. Chrome has been right behind us these days. It's just wonderful what's going on.
And then back up into that side and pop it through an edge stitch here. I am not doing anything fancy. I found the best way to do this is to just do it and then take a look at it when it's done and see if I'm unhappy with any part of it, because it's super easy to undo. Okay, so I've seamed that side to that, and then I also want to seam this edge to here. I'm just going to do the same thing. Pop it through the corner stitch here. I'm saying pop it through because the knot is kind of popping through. When I push it through, that's what it feels like. Pull that tight. Oops, let me try it here. Pop it through over here. And that should do it. And then I'm just going to pull that tight, and I'm just going to wind it through a few more stitches, sort of like weaving in the end. You don't have to worry too much about it though. I'm going to take some scissors. Well, actually what I'm going to do, I'm going to tie a knot closer, really close to this last stitch, and then cut it there. And this little knot will keep it from unraveling. It'll kind of hold it in place. And I'll weave in this end a little bit. You don't have to get too caught up on what stitches you're going under or how you're weaving in the end. There's no special trick to it. You take a look at what you've done, and if you're unhappy with any part of it, it's really easy to unravel. So tie a knot really close in there and cut it, and that little knot will keep that in place. And there I have this. Oops, I lost my shape. There we go. Oops, I'd lost my shape again. I will have to work on this. I know the shape is correct. There we go. There's my shape. There's my shape to go around my neck. I won't put it on again because of my microphone. Anyway, many thanks to Trish from Colorways Gallery.